Let me take you into a moment that every crypto holder knows too well. It's late at night, the charts are glowing on your screen, and you're staring at two coins that feel different. Not loud, not meme-driven, not trending because of hype or drama, but because deep down you can feel something shifting. That's the moment a lot of people are having right now with Stellar XLM and Quant QNT. This quiet sense that something big is forming underneath everything. This strange combination of calm and electricity. Something in your gut whispering, wait, what are these two really building? And as crazy as it sounds, that whisper isn't wrong. Because XLM and QNT aren't just altcoins. They're the infrastructure layer projects that institutions, payment networks, and entire digital economies are quietly lining up behind. And when you understand what they're actually doing behind the scenes, suddenly that idea of a 10x by 2026 stops sounding like a fantasy and starts sounding like simple math. So let's talk about why. Not with hype, not with empty predictions, but with the actual forces moving in the background while most of crypto is distracted. Here's the first big truth people overlook. The world is entering a new monetary era. Not in 10 years, not in 5 years. Right now, live. We're watching the death of slow banking rails, outdated messaging systems like SWIFT, and financial infrastructure built in the 70s. Governments, central banks, and Fortune 500 companies aren't thinking about tokenization and blockchain. They're piloting it, funding it, and integrating it. And that brings us straight to Quant. Because QNT isn't a blockchain, it's the bridge that connects all blockchains. The one that solves the most painful problem in the digital asset world, interoperability. You can build the fastest blockchain on Earth, but if it can't talk to anyone else's network, it becomes an isolated island. QNT fixes that by doing something no one else has pulled off at this scale, creating a universal operating system for the entire digital economy. Think about that. When banks launch tokenized assets, when governments issue CBDCs, when global corporations tokenize supply chains, securities, or settlements, they will need interoperability. And right now, QNT's Overledger is one of the only solutions that institutions trust enough to integrate. This is why QNT doesn't move like a meme coin. It moves like a project with real-world contracts, real enterprise adoption, and a tiny max supply that institutions will eventually fight each other for. People say 10x is crazy. No, 10x is what happens when global infrastructure locks itself into a scarce asset powering a closed enterprise ecosystem. But Quant is only one half of this story. Because on the other side you have Stellar XLM, and the energy around it feels different. It's not about enterprise interoperability. It's about global money movement, payments, remittances, humanitarian relief, and financial access. It's one of the only blockchains purpose-built for real-world money. Not speculation, not NFTs, not hype. Money. And that mission has put XLM exactly where it needs to be as the world transitions to tokenized assets. Here's the part that gives people goosebumps. Stellar didn't wait for the future to come. It's already plugged into real institutions, real payment corridors, real-world deployments. And with USDC integrated directly into the Stellar network, and MoneyGram transforming itself using Stellar rails, XLM is positioned to handle a surge in real-world volume once tokenized money goes mainstream. Now imagine where we'll be by 2026. Banks tokenizing everything. Remittance corridors shifting fully on-chain. Stablecoins exploding in adoption. Financial apps using blockchain rails without users even knowing it. And right in the middle, XLM as the high-speed, low-cost global payment engine. QNT as the universal connection layer linking every institution, every chain, and every asset. When people talk about 10x moves, they picture hype cycles. But this isn't hype. This is infrastructure reaching the point where adoption suddenly accelerates because institutions move like waves. Slow at first, then all at once. And here's what most retail investors completely miss. When institutional adoption hits, retail doesn't get a warning. There's no countdown. There's no siren telling you, hey, it's time to accumulate now. It just happens. Partnership here. A regulatory update there. A new tokenized system gets activated. Then one day the price is never the same again. This is the moment before that moment. The era where the groundwork is done but not yet recognized. The chapter where giant changes are happening in silence. People think 2026 is far away. It's not. It's one cycle, one adoption wave, one institutional trigger. And when that happens, coins like XLM and QNT, real utility coins with real-world use cases, don't just go up. They repricing entirely. You can already feel it if you're paying attention. The shakeups in banking, tokenized bonds, stablecoin regulation, enterprise blockchain pilots going live, cross-border payment systems being rebuilt from scratch. This isn't a dream. It's happening. And the coins that sit at the center of this new world, XLM and QNT, are not just prepared, they're perfectly positioned. A 10x by 2026? If these trends continue, that might not even be the upper limit. Let's dive deeper, because this is where the story becomes real. Stellar XLM and Quant QNT aren't just speculative bets you throw money at. They're the infrastructure that's quietly building the future of money. And if you're holding them, understanding why they could 10x by 2026 is more important than checking the charts every day. Start with Quant QNT. This isn't just a blockchain, it's a network operating system. It doesn't matter how fast or scalable any individual chain is if it can't connect with others. That's the problem most enterprise solutions face. Banks and corporations are moving toward digital assets, tokenized securities, and CBDCs, but if every network is isolated, you get fragmentation, friction, and failure. QNT fixes that. It connects blockchains, ensuring interoperability at the enterprise level. And enterprise-level adoption isn't hype. It's contracts. It's revenue. It's recurring fees that scale as adoption grows. Every new pilot, partnership, or integration is a silent signal that QNT's overledger is gaining trust among institutions. And trust is the hard currency in this space. Retail investors might not notice it until the moment adoption drives a price spike. But the smart money is already accumulating quietly. Imagine the impact when dozens of global institutions are transacting through overledger every day. The demand for QNT will grow in tandem, while supply is fixed. That's the textbook scenario for a massive revaluation. Now shift to Stellar XLM. While QNT is focused on the institutional layer, XLM is the bridge for billions of people worldwide. Remittances, cross-border payments, and financial inclusion are not just ideals, they're billion-dollar markets. Traditional payment rails are slow, expensive, and opaque. Stellar solves that. Money transfers that once took days and cost high fees can now happen in seconds. For pennies. And it's already happening. Stellar has integrated with payment providers, NGOs, and financial institutions that rely on its speed and efficiency. This isn't speculation. It's adoption in the real world. When you combine these two narratives, the potential becomes clear. QNT powers the infrastructure that connects institutions, while XLM powers the flows of money in the real world. Together, they cover both sides of the financial revolution: enterprise adoption and mass access. That's why holders who understand the story are already positioned to benefit. They aren't waiting for a random pump. They're holding networks that are solving systemic problems in global finance. Timing is critical. Governments and central banks are starting to explore tokenized currencies and blockchain-based settlement systems. Cross-border trade is expanding, and regulatory frameworks are gradually becoming clearer. This is a perfect storm for adoption. While most people are still debating whether blockchain will work, the networks that are already integrated into real systems are quietly becoming indispensable. That's exactly what's happening with QNT and XLM. But let's be honest, volatility will happen. XRP, XLM, QNT, they all move. Corrections and pullbacks will test your patience. Headlines will scream crash or bubble. Most retail investors will panic. But here's the truth. Volatility is opportunity. Every dip is a chance to accumulate before adoption accelerates. Every pause in the hype filters out weak hands, leaving holders who understand the real story in a position to profit disproportionately. The coins that survive the cycles aren't speculative, they're essential. Now, consider scarcity. Both QNT and XLM have capped supplies. Quant has a limited number of tokens, and Stellar's network is finite. When adoption increases, when institutions and individuals need the assets to operate, the supply-demand equation shifts dramatically. Scarcity combined with real-world utility is the exact formula for exponential growth. People often talk about moonshots as if they're random. But the truth is, the biggest moves happen when real adoption meets limited supply. And both of these networks are on that path. Think about the ecosystem effect. As QNT becomes the backbone for interoperability, more blockchains and enterprise solutions will rely on it. As Stellar scales, more money flows through its rails, integrating with stablecoins, remittances, and tokenized assets. Every new adoption point adds pressure on price while reinforcing utility. And the kicker? Most retail investors won't see it coming until the price has already reacted. That's why positioning now is critical. By 2026, the world could look dramatically different. Tokenized finance will be more common, cross-border payments faster, and global money flows integrated seamlessly. XRP, XLM, and QNT are the pieces of infrastructure that make that possible. Early holders aren't just speculating. They're investing in networks the world will depend on. And the math is simple. Adoption drives demand, supply is fixed, and when institutions scale, growth compounds. The takeaway is clear. Stellar, XLM, and Quant QNT aren't just coins. They are the underpinnings of a new financial era. They're solving real-world problems, gaining real adoption, and preparing for a wave of institutional and global usage. If you're paying attention and positioning yourself wisely, the next few years could redefine what your portfolio looks like, and potentially change your life. Now we get to the part most people miss. The part that separates casual holders from those who actually position themselves for life-changing gains. Stellar, XLM, and Quant QNT aren't just speculative assets. They're the foundation of systems the world is quietly building behind the scenes. And that's why what you're holding today could look completely different in just a few years. Let's start with Quant QNT. This isn't some coin for day trading or hype cycles. It's a network operating system that makes multiple blockchains interoperable, something every bank, government, and enterprise will need as they transition into digital assets. Imagine a world where tokenized bonds, CBDCs, and corporate settlements all need to communicate seamlessly. QNT becomes the backbone. Every new integration is not just adoption, it's revenue, credibility, and a real-world use case that compounds in value. The market doesn't always notice this quietly building adoption until it triggers massive demand, and the people holding QNT are the ones positioned to benefit. Then there's Stellar, XLM. While Quant connects institutions, Stellar connects people. It's about making money transfers faster, cheaper, and more reliable, especially in places the traditional financial system fails. Remittances, micropayments, and financial inclusion aren't just theoretical. They're billion-dollar opportunities that Stellar is already tapping into. Partnerships with payment providers and integration with stablecoins like USDC put XLM in a unique position. It's not hype. It's practical utility with real users and real demand. Here's the critical insight most investors overlook. These two coins don't just operate independently. They complement each other. Quant builds the connective tissue for institutional systems. Stellar powers the global flow of money for everyday users. Together, they cover nearly every angle of the evolving financial system. And the first wave of adoption tends to be invisible to the public, but by the time it's recognized, prices can move quickly and dramatically. Timing is everything. Right now, governments and central banks are experimenting with digital currencies. Global trade is expanding, and blockchain adoption is accelerating. Regulatory clarity is slowly improving, making it easier for institutions to integrate tokenized systems. In short, the world is ready for infrastructure coins that actually work, and QNT and XLM are perfectly positioned. Volatility will happen, of course. These networks move, sometimes sharply. Headlines will trigger fear, social media will stir panic. But here's the secret: volatility is an opportunity. Every dip is a chance to accumulate more while others sell out of fear. Every correction filters weak hands and strengthens the holders who understand the bigger picture. Those who remain patient through these cycles are the ones who see the most massive gains once adoption accelerates. And don't forget scarcity. Quant has a capped supply, and Stellar's token economy is limited. As adoption grows, banks, institutions, and individuals needing these assets, the supply-demand equation shifts dramatically. That's the foundation for exponential growth, and it's happening quietly while most people focus on short-term price swings. As QNT becomes the go-to solution for interoperability, more chains and enterprise networks will rely on it. As Stellar scales, more money flows through its rails, integrating with remittances, micropayments, and stablecoins. Most retail investors won't notice until the impact is already reflected in the market. That's why positioning early is crucial. By 2026, the financial landscape could be unrecognizable. Tokenized assets will dominate institutional finance. Cross-border payments will be nearly instantaneous and cost almost nothing. QNT and XLM are the networks that make this possible. And for holders who understand the story, this isn't speculation. It's strategic positioning. The takeaway is simple. These are not just coins. They're infrastructure. They solve real problems. They're gaining real adoption. And when the market catches on, early holders stand to benefit disproportionately. If you're patient, disciplined, and strategic, this could be one of the rare opportunities in crypto where utility, adoption, and scarcity line up perfectly. Here's where everything comes together. You've seen the story unfold. Quant QNT connecting the world's blockchains, Stellar XLM moving real money faster, cheaper, and more efficiently. You've understood how adoption, scarcity, and timing converge to create a perfect storm for growth. And now it's clear. This isn't speculation or hype. This is infrastructure, and infrastructure changes lives. Opportunities like this don't come around often. Most investors focus on short-term price swings, chasing pumps, or panicking over dips. But early positioning, understanding adoption, and holding through volatility, that's what creates real wealth. XRP and XLM, or in this case, QNT and Stellar, aren't just coins. They are tools the global financial system is beginning to depend on. The moment the market fully recognizes their utility, it won't just move, it will transform the way capital flows worldwide. The biggest lesson here is patience. Volatility will test you. Headlines will scare you. Social media will scream crash or bubble. But if you understand the infrastructure story, those swings become opportunities. Every dip is a chance to accumulate. Every correction strengthens those with conviction. Those who recognize adoption, understand the utility, and maintain patience are the ones who stand to benefit the most when the next wave hits. Scarcity is another critical factor. Quant has a finite supply, Stellar has limited tokens. As adoption grows, both among institutions and everyday users, the demand rises while supply remains constrained. That's how exponential growth happens. This isn't random. It's math combined with real-world adoption, and that's the recipe for the kind of 10x moves you've been hearing about. The ecosystem effect amplifies everything. As QNT becomes the backbone for interoperability, more chains, institutions, and digital assets will rely on it. As Stellar scales, billions of dollars in payments, remittances, and stablecoin transactions flow through its rails. Every adoption milestone strengthens utility and creates upward price pressure. The market may not notice at first, but those who are positioned now will see the effects dramatically in the years to come. So what should you do? Stay informed. Stay patient. Position yourself strategically. Focus on utility, adoption, and the long-term potential rather than the noise of short-term fluctuations. If you do this, your portfolio isn't just holding coins, it's holding the future of finance. And here's the call to action. If this video helped you understand the real story behind XLM and QNT, hit that like button, leave a comment sharing which coin you believe will make the biggest impact by 2026, and subscribe for more insights into the crypto projects quietly shaping the next financial revolution. We break down adoption, strategy, and moves that can truly change your portfolio and your life. XLM and QNT aren't just crypto assets. They are infrastructure. They are adoption. They are opportunity. If you act wisely now, you're not just watching history, you're part of it. Don't wait for the world to notice. The moment to position yourself is today.